For my 18th birthday, I had the opportunity to attend a racing experience in Las Vegas, Nevada. My dad, brother, and I arrived at the track, and we could hear the roaring of the cars as they passed by. We had to attend a mandatory safety briefing, and the instructor told us, "You can push these cars as hard as you want." A little bit too confident, I hopped into the driver's seat of a Porsche GT3 RS. With a 0 to 60 time of 3.4 seconds and 500 horsepower, this is by far the fastest car I'd ever driven. But hey, I've been driving before. I'd had my driver's license for over 1 year now. I got this. Well, we pulled out to the pit lane exit, and the instructor told me to floor it. I did, and I was thrust back in my seat, and my eyes went wide, and I just went into survival mode. For 10 minutes, I heard absolutely nothing the instructor was saying. I was just focused on keeping it on the track. However, while I was driving, I noticed that the car was unusually twitchy on turn in. Of course, I paid no attention to it because, well, I was just trying to survive. But when we finished, the instructor informed me that this car, in fact, had four-wheel steering. Well, what is four-wheel steering? Essentially, when you turn the front tires, the back tires turn a little bit as well, which makes the car extremely twitchy and difficult to drive. Interesting to me that he only provided this crucial detail after I've been driving for the past 20 minutes. My mission for Capstone this year was to learn how designers make fast cars. I wanted to learn how to service a road car, and because I wanted to become either a mechanical or aerodynamics engineer in college, I wanted to attain background engineering knowledge through a sport I'm passionate about. Knowing how a car is designed is necessary to being able to drive it quickly. In my first interview, my interviewee told me that aerodynamics and drivability are key to making a car go fast. When you're approaching a fast corner at 120 miles an hour, you want to know exactly how the car is going to react. You don't want any surprises. Effective communication between engineers and drivers is crucial. Communication about how the car handles, how it transmits power, or any myriad of complex systems that might impact a race car. Aerodynamics, to me, is the most fascinating of forces that impact a race car. It can be both very subtle and very obvious. An obvious example are front and rear wings. When I say wing, you might think of a plane wing, and in a sense, you're correct. A plane wing uses two factors to create lift: an equal and opposite force produced by deflection of the wind, and a difference in pressure. A lot of drag that you get from front and rear wings. This allowed Lotus to dominate in the 1977 World Championship. Not only does aerodynamics have a big impact, but the suspension has a huge impact on maintaining stability in the car. Note when I say stability, it doesn't mean a smooth ride, it just means a stable platform for the car. If you've ever driven a sports car, you might notice that the car is very stiff. And that's because we don't care about the bumps when we're racing. In a production car, you do care because you're trying to be very comfortable. You run the car very soft, and that makes it able to absorb bumps very easily. However, if you have soft suspension and you're taking a corner very fast, that outside suspension will squat, and the front tires will actually lift up. The inside tires will lift up, and I think we can all see why that's not a good idea. So they use very stiff suspension, but this comes with some problems. In 2005, Renault had this very same problem. They're a racing team. They ran the car so stiff, in fact, that when it would hit any sort of bump, the car would slam into the ground and actually break parts of the car underneath the car. Well, how could they remedy this? Well, they turned to the Taipei 101 tower, which is a marvel of engineering in its own right. The Taipei 101 tower uses a 718-ton mass damper to control the winds that actually push the tower back and forth. As the tower moves back and forth, the weight actually keeps that tower centered. and as it sways, the weight pulls it back. If this can be used in a giant tower, I think we can use the exact same concept in a race car to dampen the horizontal oscillations. We'll see that the car is significantly reduced in bouncing, and this allows it to run it very stiff and go over curves a lot easier. So you'll see here that this is the Renault with the okay. Anyway, now you might be asking yourself, well, how does this impact me? How can I profit from this or learn from this today? Well, we don't race cars out in the common road streets. We do use mass dampers to control vibrations and engine vibrations in cars. In some luxury models, they mount mass dampers in the side of the car doors to dampen extra vibrations and extra things that the suspension cannot handle. Also, the mass damper is used to control vibrations in engines, because when we have vibrating engine parts, it tends to shake itself apart, and I think everyone likes a more reliable car. The design and understanding of aero helps manufacturers create more efficient and cheaper ways to analyze how they're creating their car. It allows cars to create better fuel economy because they're more efficient, and makes your car cheaper because it's cheaper for them to create. I also want to work on race cars because of what yet could be discovered. Traction control and ABS and stability control were actually born on the racetrack. They weren't born to make your car safer. In fact, these inventions born on the racetrack save hundreds of lives a year. Think about in the Colorado winter, if you slammed your brake and that car didn't have anti-lock braking, and you would just slide and spin everywhere. This saves so many cars and so many lives each year. As an engineer, however, I might have to design a production car. Mr. Cooper has enlightened me between the design and the feasibility of maintenance and the grudges that maybe some mechanics hold against engineers. If you ever tried to fix something yourself, you might notice that why would they put the most breakable part in the spot that's most difficult to access? Well, that's because engineers like to design things on paper. They don't like to go out in the real world and examine how their stuff's going to work. They leave that up to the people who fix it. Well, to be a good engineer, I wanted to get some hands-on experience. And that's why I decided to join Mr. Cooper's D group. Working on cars for me was simultaneously the easiest and hardest thing I've done in a while. For example, my team of myself, Dylan, and Peter had to fix a damaged car door lock that had been attempted to be broken into by someone. They had absolutely destroyed it, so we were tasked with replacing it. And we thought, and rightfully so, that it'd be very difficult to replace. I mean, it's a car door lock. You know, that's a safety hazard. So we spent 2 hours trying to dismantle this car door lock. We removed the entire upholstery on the inside of the door, and then we got down to the metal, and we discovered that, in fact, that's not what you have to do. Exactly. In fact, it's super, super easy, which is a little frightening. All you have to do is pop off this plastic piece. Okay, this plastic piece, remove this rubber circle, unscrew one screw, and you take the car door lock out. This is what I'm talking about. Working on cars is simultaneously the easiest and hardest thing I've done in a while. I've also had to get some experience working on my mom's Toyota. Her AC blower motor had failed, and the Toyota dealership wanted to charge her $400 to replace the part. That's not including the part cost, it's just the labor. And I thought, well, since I'm doing Capstone and my dad was willing to pay me, I thought I'd try it for myself. It took me about 30 minutes to research it and about 10 minutes to replace the part. All I had to do was unscrew 3 screws and take the thing out. I say this not to rag on the Toyota dealership, but really more to talk about a lesson that I learned during Capstone. I learned how to problem solve, and this has prepared me to live on my own because I'm going to be graduating next year, or this year, and I'm going to have to learn to live on my own, and I don't want to pay for people to fix my stuff. Communication. I learned to communicate more effectively through email and interviews throughout my Capstone journey. I learned to email efficiently, but also with a little bit of emotion, and make people feel special as I'm emailing them so that they do things that I want them to do. Many projects, however, fell through, and I learned how to persevere. I learned to follow up with people and sometimes hound them to get things done. I learned to take initiative and be a good leader through the D group and through some of the other things that I had done. For those who didn't follow through, I learned to commit and be dependable. Because when people flaked out on me, that hurt me a lot, and I wanted to be dependable because that's not what I had from some other people. I was also able to see God work through our D group. We were able to give away one car this year, and hopefully many more, and I saw how this impacted the person that we gave it to. She had had her car stolen recently, and through the work that we did, and actually these guys did up here, that we were able to impact someone's life. I was able to see God's plan in motion through the work of our hands. I learned that God's plan for my life, maybe I might not see it immediately, but it's always working and it's always there. I want to be an engineer so I can glorify God through the work of my hands to create beautiful things, both in form and function. Overall, Capstone was a great experience, full of fun memories. I like to say the juniors and the sophomores and anyone who's going to work in Capstone, just to pick something that you love. It doesn't have to be something that you're just doing for a grade or something that you're going to do for your entire career. Just pick something that you're going to enjoy, because that's going to make this Capstone experience a lot more fun. I'd like to thank Mr. Cooper for being my great advisor, for helping me out with a lot of stuff, because I didn't really know what I was doing at the beginning, and he has a lot of knowledge that I don't, so I'd like to thank you for being super helpful. I'd like to thank Mr. Schultz and Ms. Funk for fielding some of our crazy questions and giving us extensions that we probably didn't deserve, so thank you for that. I'd also like to thank my parents, because they stuck with me and sent me to front range and really encouraged me throughout the senior year to do the best I could. Thank you. Does anybody have any questions? So
I have a buddy that wants to also go into aerodynamics. And he wants to design F1 cars.
Yeah.
You want to do more kind of not want to be related in race cars, or what kind of race cars?
Yeah, to be honest, I'm happy to do whatever. It's a pretty competitive field. There's a lot of people who are really smart. So honestly, if I could get into anything, that'd be awesome. But I'm actually, because I'm going to the Air Force Academy, which is what I didn't actually start out knowing that I would be doing that. So really, it's more focused on designing planes and jets right now. And maybe once I finish my time in the Air Force, then maybe I'll go off to designing that. But we'll see. Yep.
Did your dad ever pay you?
He did pay me. If we sent it off to the D group, I think we got some cool tools. So he offered to pay if I sent it over to the D group, which is cool.
Anyone else? Yes.
Money is no object. What car are you buying?
Probably so there's a car that was built just to win this entire racing series back in the 1980s called the Mercedes SLK. They basically stole a bunch of parts off of McLaren and then souped it up and made it really fast. And I think that would be the coolest car. It's like a couple $1 million now. So if money was no object, I could have that, but probably never going to happen. Please.